Awesome. So welcome to our industry update for July 2023. Thank you guys all so much for being on. I've got so much good stuff that I want to share with y'all today. So we're going to dive right into it. Let me just share my screen. Awesome. Perfect. So you guys should be able to see my screen, right? Give me a thumbs up. Can y'all see? Yes. Okay, great. And I think, oh, good. Okay, good. It's still telling me people are in the waiting room. So let me open that so I can, perfect. Okay, awesome. So welcome to Industry Update. We're going to get right into it. Today, we're going to be focusing on sellers, which are the market of the moment, right? Sellers really are always the market of the moment, but in the industry or the temperature of things that we're at right now, even more so. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and I hope it's super helpful. I've got some stats for you that I know will be super empowering that I've gathered from multiple different research sources and economists and experts. And then I'm also going to talk about some tools and resources that's been shared in Gary Keller's Top 100 Mastermind and a few other things. So we're going to do some meat and potatoes, some statistics, and hopefully you'll feel super empowered by the time we get through all of this today. So buckle up, grab a notebook, pen. And by the way, this is interactive. Please feel free, put questions or comments in the chat if you'd like to. I will give you opportunities to share ahas or ask questions at the end if you'd like to as well. So, oopsies. Oh, there we go. Perfect. So obviously, for me anyways, one of my goals with these industry updates is really just to empower you with perspective. I feel like perspective is so important for all of us, as you're building your business, as you're talking to your clients. This really is what we are able to offer as an additional value add to our clients, right? Especially in the climate where things are today. Most of our clients and like the general public that we're talking to and interacting with in the marketplace, where are people getting their real estate information from? Like news cycles, Zillow, social media. There's so much misinformation out there. And let me tell you, I considered doing this, but I thought it might take too long. But if you even just go look at the go look at one news channel versus another news channel, and the amount of conflicting information that is out there is just kind of shocking. Oh gosh, I need to go backwards. Sorry, guys. I was trying to admit some people to the waiting room, but it's shocking. One news cycle is going to be like sheer panic, the housing industry is crashing. And then another news cycle will say something completely different. And like neither of them are right. It's all just clickbait. And that's where the public is getting their information from. And so that's part of our responsibility as agents, is to empower ourselves and our clients with knowledge, right? So my goal today is to give you perspective that you can give to your clients and have clarity and perspective so you feel empowered, your clients feel empowered, and all of those things. Before we do that, I wanted to give you guys a second to share what you guys are seeing in the market right now. I know everybody's in different pockets of the city. Different neighborhoods and pockets are all different. So post in the chat, how have things been for you lately? Slower, busy, normalizing, steady? What have you guys been seeing out there? Anything in particularly interesting? You can put it in the chat. I will say generally, I feel very grateful to live in Charlotte, the Charlotte area, as we feel things a little bit less than a lot of other places. Steve said starting to pick up for me personally. That's great. That's great. So just put in the chat what you guys are seeing right now. And it'll be interesting to see each other's experiences. A little slow, starting to pick back up. Emily says, awesome. Awesome. Okay, cool. All depends on price point. Low is hot, better than 2 months ago for me. Awesome. Very true. Ditto for Emily. Cool. Yeah. So I think a lot of us are seeing some of the same things. And just like I said, very grateful. And it's just interesting that the market is changing all the time. So that's why we have these. Okay, so let's talk about our numbers. These are your magic numbers that you need to know. I want to talk about this every time because this is really how we're going to be able to keep a pulse on our industry and how what's happening in the economy relates to us and our clients. So these are your magic numbers. You always want to know them. These are basically the main things that have a play in our industry. And this is where we want them to stay. So ideally, we always want to keep GDP at 2%, inflation rate at 2%, real estate appreciation at 4%, and unemployment below 6%. If we can stay at these numbers consistently, this is where, as far as our market goes and our economy and all that stuff, everything is good and smooth. When it's not, that's when we get out of whack and we start to have problems. And so we'll talk about all of these numbers today, and these are the things we always are watching for. Current inflation right now is actually at 2.97%. So actually getting closer to that goal of being at 2%, which is definitely eased from the previous month, although still high. So that's exciting to know. And so that's what we're going to focus on. So let's dive right into it. Awesome. So first thing we're going to look at is GDP. Now there's a few slides that have not been fully updated by KWRI, but I have comparable slides for you. So we're going to look at a few kind of side by sides and then a few other updated things too. So this is GDP quarterly. As you can see, we ended Q1 of 2023 at 1.1%. The biggest thing to notice about this slide that can really empower you is to be aware that the definition of a recession is when you have 2 quarters back to back with negative GDP. So you can see here in the 2020 era, we had 2 quarters back to back with negative GDP. And then here in that little bit of blurb of 22, the end of 2022, we had negative GDP there as well. So that means good news for us right now is we're, even no matter what the news cycle says, we're technically not in a recession right now. And this is also why having this type of awareness, this can empower you as agents. I feel like a lot of times we feel things or notice things a little bit sooner than the public does. But that is what that means. May GDP was 1.7%. So you'll see that right here. And so we are continuing right along. And that's what that comparison looks like from the last couple quarters to where we are right now. And remember, the goal is to be at 2%. So that's good news that we are not going backwards, we're going forward. Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about today is inflation. So inflation through the end of April, as you guys can see, ended at 4.9%. It's 5.7% when you exclude energy and food. Typically, I feel like though, energy and food, that's the first place that we notice it at. So, right, like when your gas gets expensive, when your food gets expensive, groceries and that sort of stuff. So we ended at 4.9%. Inflation for May ended at 4%. And then we are actually at 2.97% for June. So that's the good news for inflation, is that we are going down and getting closer to that goal of 2% mark for inflation. And so that is steadying out, and we should feel that at the gas pump, at the groceries. Hopefully things should be a little bit less painful for our clients and for us, as you can see what it looked like last year, 22, all the way down to now. These, by the way, these statistics right here that we're looking at are from National Association of Realtors. So that's really good news. And unemployment, the next one that's super important to be aware of, unemployment. April, you can see it ended at 3.4%. The goal is to have unemployment below 6%. So of course, unemployment has been extremely low, as you can see, for quite a while, really since we want to be below 6, and it's been at 6 or below since April 2021. And there's been a slight increase. May unemployment was 3.7%. But still, nothing too crazy or anything. So that's really good news. And you can see this is your update for May. This just says the unemployment rate in the US increased to 3.7, like I just told you guys. It's the highest since October 2022, and the above market expectations of 3.5%. But even despite this uptake, the jobless rate remains historically low, and suggested labor market remains tight. So that's good news. Labor force participation rate has been, unchanged, and it's remaining at its highest level since March of 2020. So that's great news as far as people having a job, having moolah, all that good stuff. Before we talk about home sales figures, which we're going to get into in a second, I want to talk about something else that's super important to be aware of as we're looking at these numbers, right? interest rates, inflation, the GDP, gross domestic profit, all that stuff. How does this all relate to our clients? And, you guys can put in the chat if you want. What are some of the biggest things that are concerns for people? I feel like we hear clients all the time that are asking, when's the market going to crash? Or buyers saying, hey, I'm going to wait for prices to go down, or I'm going to wait for the market to crash before I buy, or things like that. And I think it's really important for us to be empowered as agents to understand why the climate that we're in right now is simply not the same as 2008, and why it's not going to be that same type of a crash. And this slide that I just put up is why. So everyone can just say with me to yourself in a resounding equity. Equity is our friend. And this is from the Wall Street Journal. US home equity actually hit its highest level on record to date, like in history, of $27.8 trillion, which is a huge, huge deal. When people have equity in their homes, it means that they're far less likely to foreclose. They're far less likely to be upside down in their home, which was one of the biggest issues that happened during the 2008 crash. And so the fact that everybody has equity right now is why we're experiencing a shift, although not a crash, if that makes sense. So check out this slide right here. This is from Brian Buffini. Did you know that right now Americans are sitting on, like we just said, some of the most equity you've ever seen? So 39% of all homes in the United States are owned free and clear, meaning they don't even have a mortgage on them. They're just owned free and clear. You cannot foreclose on a house with no mortgage, right? So that's great. And then 29% of mortgaged homes have more than 50% equity. So that means more than 50% of homes in the market today have 50% or more equity, which means when people come on hard times, that is security for homeowners, and they're much less likely to foreclose or have any other issues in that way. So that's a major, major difference for us now versus 2008. A lot of people talk about, oh, supply and demand, inventory's low, demand's high, so we're protected. And that's true. It is a supply and demand industry, but also this equity piece makes a massive difference. So, awesome. Yep. Michelle, I love that. She said some of my buyers have to wait till interest rates lower. I explained you can always refinance when the rates go down, and keep in mind the rates are lowered, prices seem to rise. Yes, we're going to talk about that in a minute. It's so, so true. So thank you for that. Great point. So if you're thinking about, you're the professional, right? And even for those y'all that are on and maybe you have not been in business as long as other people, the fact that you have a license, you still have more knowledge than the average civilian that's not in real estate. So own that and just think about, how am I as a professional communicating this information to my clients? If it were me, I would say one of the biggest things I would be talking about is this slide right here. US home equity has 27.8 trillion. It's the highest level on record. More than 50% of homes have more than 50% equity, which means people are not going to foreclose. They're not going to be in a pinch. And it does make a huge difference for us. So with that being said, let's talk about home sales. So this is our updated numbers and data for home sales. So as you can see, in May, we were at 4.3 million home sales. Now, obviously, so what you're looking at here, this yellow line is 2023. This purple blue line is 2022. So you're looking at comparison for each month, year over year. So as you can see, obviously for 2022, we had 5.4 million in home sales. So when you look year over year, there is a decline, which is normal. When you look at what the market was before, it would have been, pretty impossible to maintain the level of where things were, because it was just kind of a wild market. Here's what I think is really interesting that's important to know, that is great about this slide. So right here, we see 4.43, 4.29, 4.3. That's our home sales month to month, right? March, April, and May 2023. The really big thing, look at this trend. When you look at the purple line, this starting in about, April is when home sales started to decline every single month. They were getting lower last year. And what we're seeing now for this year is that home sales are not declining anymore. They're holding steady or going up slightly. In fact, sales went up from April to May. Sales were up for home sales by about 20%. So that's really good news, especially when, you're looking at that seasonality. It means we're probably likely starting to feel a little bit of more normal seasonality in the real estate market, meaning it's normal to have a hot spring market and things to cool off a little bit in the fall and then cycle back around, versus just an out of control market. So that's really good news. So even though things declined last year, we're now hitting more seasonality. Nationwide, May did have a decrease year over year from last May to this May of 20%. However, this year, April to May, 20% increase. So that's really good news for us. Yay. Oops, that's not what I meant to hit. There we go. And this shows you again, home sales 2023. And this is the year over year that I was just mentioning about. There has been a year over year decline from last May to this May, but still great news. Okay, the other thing I want you to be aware of when it comes to home sales right now is days on market. This is really great to know. This is from National Association of Realtors, and this is the nationwide days on market. So you can see in the January, February, March time, or well, January, February, average days on market nationwide were about 34 days on market. And even here in the Charlotte area, we were looking at about 35, 36 days on market on average in those wintertime months. And you can see those numbers are starting to decline again, going back down. So that's great news for us. Again, that just obviously points to all signs that demand is still high. Homes are moving faster. I think the biggest difference now versus last year is that pricing makes all the difference in the world, right? Which I'm sure you guys would agree with that you may be seeing in the market is that we are still having high demand, low inventory, although buyers may be a little bit pickier. So be mindful of how you're pricing houses. And with that being said, another really great thing to know about this is that, oh, I wonder if I put the slide in here. I did. Yay. This is also from the Wall Street Journal. 3 million US households making over $150,000 a year are still renting. Wow, that is huge. That speaks to the demand that is out there still and why things are still so hot. You know, on average, we'll talk about inventory here in just a moment, but that is wild. You know, there's so many people that want to get into a home that either can't get into a home, can't get the home for the right price, or are losing bidding wars and have taken a break and are now renting. They're all still waiting for the opportunities. That means opportunity for us. And we'll talk about interest rates in a minute and mortgage rates. As those continue to steady out, these 3 million people are still going to want to have a place to live and potentially will be looking to buy. So that's exciting for us to know. So let's talk about inventory. Hope this is super helpful information for you guys. So this is inventory monthly. Again, what you're looking at is the orange line is 2023, the purple blue line is 2022. So you can see, obviously, we had very low inventory last year, a month and a half of inventory up to, 2 or 3 months of inventory. A healthy balanced market is considered 6 months for perspective. And right now, nationwide, our inventory is sitting at about 3 months of supply nationwide. Here in the Charlotte area, if you look at Charlotte statistics, our inventory is actually a little bit lower than that, more like 1.9 months of inventory, but that's what you're looking at nationwide. And so of course that's going to keep demand high. And it's important to think about too, one thing that's kind of interesting about that is one thing that's affected inventory is the construction industry, the new construction inventory. A chief economist from Freddie Mac actually recently came out with a study that said they estimate about an underbuilding of about 4 million homes. Underbuilding means over the last years, the missing amount of homes that we need to have been built, that should have been built every year, but have not been built for a variety of reasons. And now we're basically behind by like 4 million homes in order to keep up with the demand nationwide. So that just basically all signs point to inventory continuing to be a challenge, demand continuing to stay high. The good news with that is new home starts. And so this is another great news slide for you right here. This is your new home starts annual measurement. So you can see this purple is 2022, right? Because it's measuring per year. The really great thing to see here is that, so this yellow dash right here, that dash bar, that's our long-term average. That's kind of like where we want to like sit at to be in a really happy place. And as you can see, single family home rates ticked up back to their historical average. And that tick up right there is actually the biggest jump that we've seen in new home starts, meaning new builds, new construction, in almost 10 years in a single month. That's a big deal. It speaks to builder confidence and the fact that, for the last couple of years, a lot of builders have been kind of like just nervous, right? Waiting to see what's happening with the market. If they've been around for a while, they have experienced the unfortunate situation of 2008 and have been a lot more cautious. And because of that, we've had a lot less new construction, and with things starting to steady out a little bit, that builder confidence is growing, and we're seeing it here, which is really good news for all of us. So yay for that. Let me see if you guys have any questions in the chat. Can you share the current slide you're on? Oh, shoot. I was clicking along. Bridget? Oh, yes. Can I share the current slide? Do you mean like email them? Yes, I can share these resources, and you can absolutely print these off and use them with your buyer and seller presentations and all of that as well. I think that's what you're asking, Bridget. Yes. I'm curious if we could see a similar chart over the areas our MLS covers year over year. Yes, you can actually get okay, perfect, Bridget. Yeah, you can actually get the numbers that are similar to this from Canopy MLS if you go to Fast Stats year over year, and I can pull those as well. So I could definitely, maybe I'll include that in our next slide as some comparisons of what that local market looks like. So great questions. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about mortgage rates. I know this is a topic that is hot, hot, hot. Everybody wants to know. It's really the topic of the moment for all of us, right? Is what the heck is happening with mortgage rates? How do we talk about this with our clients? Because, we all know, right? Talk to anybody that's bought a house over here in the 80s and 90s, and we'll hear that experience of, when I bought a house at 16%, blah, 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 right? Very, very true and important perspective for us all to have. And at the same time, our clients that are over here looking to purchase a house right now, I feel like there's a little bit of a feeling that they just don't care about that, because the reality is they like what happened over here, right? 2, 3, 4% interest rates, and they want more of that. And while it's important for us all to be aware that, right, 2 and 3% interest rates are not ever going to come back, that was a unicorn, and it is what it is. We can really help our clients with perspective around mortgage rates and also empower ourselves this way too. So basically, in a nutshell, what you're looking at on this annual slide is mortgage rates from the end of 2022. Right now, we're sitting at about like 6.9%. When I checked earlier today, it looked like about 6.9% generally for mortgage rates. In June, they averaged 6.7%. And so you can see right there, June 2023, 6.72%. May, the average was 6.4%. So the projections are really for rates to come down a bit, but generally steady out, which means the historical patterns are showing that we're probably going to go from like 6.5 to 6.9%, maybe down to 5.9 or 6% as like an average, but likely not lower than that. And so that kind of means our clients, as time goes on, they will adjust to that and get more and more comfortable with the fact that 2.74 or 3.45 down here, that's just not a thing anymore. And the more that stays steady around that, 6% mark, it's a really normal average historically with mortgage rates, and it will increase builder confidence. It will increase buyer confidence. The less volatile it is, I think is the better too. So that's what that looks like for mortgage rates right now. Okay, so we're going to shift gears a little bit. Feel free to put anything in the chat if you want, have any questions about any of the statistics or anything like that. I just wanted to touch on this real briefly. I talked about this last month on the industry update. And if you'd like to, maybe when I email out this recording or post this recording, I can post the link for last month's as well, so you can get this in detail. But this worksheet is actually from Gary Keller's Top 100 Agent Mastermind. And it's a tool to help you future-proof your business and get really crystal clear on what needs to happen right now. Really the biggest conversation that I'm finding is happening with that level of top producers in that mastermind and other top producers similarly, is that in this market, you really need to know what your value is to your customers. Like we're past the market of being able to kind of willy-nilly and just show up to a listing appointment without anything prepared, or just get a buyer and go work with them. It's going to be a lot more about value to your customers in order to take market share and build a business right now. And so you want to think about focusing on your quality of touches, not just your quantity of touches to your database, and what that looks like, and how you can continue to support your clients in that way. The agents that do are taking massive market share right now. So feel free to screenshot this, or, just go back and I can resend the resources for this as well. I also last time did share these. Feel free to screenshot these, like I said, right now, or just go back and watch the recording. I'll also email it out. But this is a list of unique touches that were covered during Gary Keller's Top 100 Agent Mastermind that those top agents and teams are doing to take market share and stand out. Because remember, the quality of the touches, meaning are you actually adding value in the touches that you're doing with your database and your sphere and your past clients, or are you just noise? This is how you really make sure you stand out. And so again, you can screenshot these or get the resource, and I'll be sure to send that out. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk with you guys about today is perspective, the market of the moment. And like I mentioned at the beginning, the market of the moment right now is sellers. It always is, like you always write, list to last, right? The more listings that you have, probably the more likely you'll love your business and build it for the long term. And right now, if any of you who can relate, if you have felt at all that feeling of like, how do I find the motivated? Right? How do I find motivated sellers? How do I find sellers that will list at an appropriate price and not be too overpriced right now? How do I find buyers that are interested? And really that has been a dance right now, I think, for a lot of agents. And so I want to talk about that, what prospective sellers are thinking right now. And this information I'm going to share with you guys, I got from a really powerful tool. It's called 1000 Watt, and it's basically like a survey company that studies the real estate industry. And I got this information from one of my mentors, Dana Gentry, and it's super powerful. So we're going to review what they found in this survey for what sellers are looking for, what sellers want, what sellers are thinking. And again, this is all about perspective. So the more perspective and knowledge and awareness you have, the more you can empower yourself to build a business on purpose and be prepared for what your clients are most likely going to be looking for. So we're going to go through this, and I hope it really sheds some light on some stuff. So the first question they asked is, what is the approximate interest rate on your current mortgage? So you can see 48% said 3 to 4% is their current interest rate. Here's what's super important to know about that, because almost 50% of homeowners right now have a really low interest rate. That's one of the biggest challenges to be thinking about, right? A need to sell can easily become a would like to sell, and a would like to sell can easily become a I think I'll wait from that 2/3 of respondents who have sub 4% mortgages. So what's really important to think about with that is we've got to flip the script for ourselves and for our clients and think, how can I get past that objection and not get stuck in that trap? Because you're either snatching opportunity from your competitors or they're doing the same to you right now. That's why these industry updates are so important, is because now is the time that we have to be on purpose and intentional and be on the right side of the equation to get the business. So basically it means we have to do our homework a lot more, and business is not necessarily going to flow to us just in our sleep, right? So they go on to say a discussion of results follows below, and different people find different things of interest rates in those results. Here's a few top line notes. 75% of respondents indicated that they plan to use the agent that helped them buy their house and sell their house. And then it talks about change in lifestyle was the #1 reason why respondents cited for why they're thinking of selling. So 75% of respondents said they plan to use the agent that helped them get the house in the first place. That means, and by the way, it's interesting to see the statistic that National Association of Realtors has, that even though people say they will, the percentage of people that actually do is way less. It's so important to make sure you are staying in touch with your clients for that reason. But then looking at change in lifestyle is the #1 reason why people are selling right now. So I want you to think of the 5 Ds. Write this down if you haven't heard about this before, but you've got to find the people that are having a lifestyle change. When you can find the people that are having a lifestyle change, those are the people that are likely to be the most motivated sellers right now. And the lifestyle change is the 5 Ds. Ready? Diapers, divorce, death, downsizing, debt. Diapers, divorce, death, downsizing, debt. typically when one of those 5 factors is their biggest motivator, they will be motivated to sell and price appropriately and do the things that they need to do. So it's all about that context, right? Even if they have a lower rate, if they have a lifestyle change and you can give them context around the mortgage rate, then they'll be 50% more likely to sell, which by the way, that's what says this last paragraph right here. That's what it's saying. It's saying that 80% of respondents who have a mortgage on their home are concerned that the high mortgage rates will impede their ability to sell. However, when they're presented with context that explained that refinancing it to a lower rate in the future may be possible, meaning, right, buy now, refinance later, 50% said this information made them more inclined to sell. So 50% more inclined to sell when they feel empowered with the actual knowledge and context of how they can still, move forward in the most appropriate way financially. Okay, it also goes on to say 66% of respondents reported reading marketing materials from agents at least occasionally. When asked to identify which types of agent marketing materials they found interesting or useful, they said those that list recent home sale prices was their top pick at 39%. This tried and true tactic is likely more relevant to homeowners than ever, as a changing market has people looking around at the market activity in their neighborhood as a strong signal for their home's value and the success of their home sale. 91% of respondents report being very clear or having a pretty good idea of their home values. And this is great information to know. And they indicate that how they got their home value is agent's opinion, Zillow, and recent home sales that contribute to that understanding. So notably, respondents who had yet to speak with a real estate agent relied much more on Zillow and recent sales to form their opinion. So that's great to know, right? Like, all the more reason why our languaging and how we're communicating with our clients is going to become more and more and more important, and why we've got to find the motivated and look for those lifestyle changes. And we'll talk a little bit more about pricing and marketing in a minute, but that's actually something that I've been hearing a lot through agents as well, is that a lot of our top producers are leaning heavily back into leaning heavily into marketing mailers, and actual like paper marketing material. Okay, tenure of ownership among our respondents tracked roughly that 39% have owned their home for 6 to 10 years, 39%. So 39% of homeowners are in the 6 to 10 year mark, which is the ideal window when typically people get ready to sell. And then it goes on to say a large majority plan on using the same agent, which we talked about a little bit. If you sell, do you plan on using the same agent to buy your home? 75% said yes. Okay. Oops, I think that just took me backwards. Okay. Among the 25% who do not plan to use a previous agent for their current contemplated home sale, they cited the desire to explore alternatives were, I want to shop around and see my selection and options are, I like comparisons, I may consult them, the previous agent, but want to shop around, or I may find a better one. So a range of reasons for considering to sell, significantly 13% are downsizing. So that's good to know. But again, this goes back, change in lifestyle, 25% is the reason why. And then if you actually, this is interesting because a lot of those are changes in lifestyle. So 25% said change in lifestyle, but then death, divorce are both right there, which also kind of is a change in lifestyle that would go with that. So it actually is a higher percentage than that as well. Okay. What is your general perception of the real estate market right now? 35% said the market is hot and favors sellers. And then when asked, what's the top factor that has kept you from selling, even though you thought about it, 34% said the housing market has slowed down and I'm not sure I can get the price I want. So that's interesting because those two kind of like conflict, which is probably the conundrum of our market right now, is people are like, oh, it's hot, it favors sellers. And it is a challenge for buyers still. And also some sellers are not going on the market right now because they're not sure if they can get the price that they want. So just really good perspective, right? To be aware of what people are thinking out there. I would say I hear this one a lot too. I would have to buy another home and get a mortgage with a much higher interest rate. Would be interested if you guys feel like you hear that one more than the pricing, if you feel like people aren't selling for the interest rate or the pricing or both, because those are super close on the survey too, but both are definitely true as far as challenges go. Okay. Have you spoken to a real estate agent about selling your home recently? 50% said yes. And did speaking with our real estate agent make you more or less inclined to sell your home? 64% said more. So people have the notion to sell, speak with an agent that can offer them context, and for most, the notion becomes stronger. So when you think about that, think about when people are talking to you, if someone is looking to sell their house and they speak with you, are you leaving them feeling that way? So like this says here, it says, when asked why these conversations had such an impact, responses said that it was because the agent thoroughly explained the advantages of selling sooner rather than later. The agent gave me optimism and options for selling my house. The agent pointed out the true potential of a sale, and the agent gave me a lot of details that made sense to me. So when you're talking to, the public, your clients, your sphere, your database, anybody that you're around, are they leaving with that empowerment? And that's what I mean when I talk about perspective on this call. Is so important for us as agents to not buy into the fear mongering and the craze of the media and everything else, right? Like when you're hanging out with people and they're like, oh gosh, the market's crazy right now. And, oh, I'm going to wait to sell till the market crashes and blah, 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 blah. Are you just being like, yeah, man? Or are you empowering them with perspective that is true and accurate, that can help them? If you are, that's what our job is, right? And you're serving them well. So, and again, by the way, Find the Motivated. This goes back to the Shift book. Gary Keller's Shift book is a great book to be reading right now for perspective and awareness. Okay, number 9, you guys, I was just gonna say, I hope you guys can see this on your screen. I think everybody should screenshot this cute question right here, question 9. That little verbiage is so good. So basically it says, before I read the question, it says, awareness does not necessarily mean understanding. When we present respondents with some context around the issue of basically the idea, date the rate, marry the house, they responded positively, with just over 50% indicating that this consideration made them feel more inclined to sell. So it's saying when this paragraph on question 9 was said to somebody, it increased their likelihood to sell. And here's what it says. Does the following statement make you more or less inclined to sell your home in the near future? Here it is. Interest rates have risen a lot in the past few months, but if you sell now and then have to get a higher rate for your next mortgage, you can always refinance at a lower rate when they come back down. A new home can be forever, but a new mortgage rate can almost always be changed over time. 50% said it made them feel more inclined to sell. So really, really good to know. It goes on, the next statement says, most economists project housing prices to decline significantly in 2023. If you sell your home now, you can still command a good price while likely getting more favorable terms on a new home even a couple months later. 52.67% more inclined. So those are both really great context dialogues that you can use to empower yourself as you're talking to the general public. So screenshot that. Both of those are so great and can easily just put in your back pocket as your elevator pitch when people ask you about the market and the economy and all of that stuff. Okay, so a couple more slides on the survey. So this is talking about marketing. Oh, hold on. I think somebody's unmuted. Okay, cool. So this is talking about, did you receive marketing materials from your real estate agent, print, mail, email, social media? Yes, occasionally, 55%. Do you ever read these marketing materials? Yes, occasionally, 46%, with a yes often at 18%. So if you look at the amount of people that receive marketing materials, it's quite a lot. It looks like almost like 78% overall, if you look at all the yeses. And then again, people that read it, same thing, very close to, gosh, almost 90% actually read it. And one thing that's really interesting here is the evidence really shows a preference, a clear preference for marketing that delivers insight into the market. In particular, recent home sale prices are found to be the most interesting or useful thing. So I just want to take a minute here because this is so good to know. First of all, the past few years, I feel like this is something that we're seeing a lot of top producing agents and teams doing more of. Like I mentioned, is they're getting away from radio ads and things like that, and really leaning heavily into marketing and increasing their touches. When you look at the past few years of just how things have been, a lot of agents have just kind of gotten away from their formal listing presentations and listing packets and market data and all of that. So we didn't really have to, right? You felt like you could probably just show up and get the client and go on with your life. And things have just changed now so much. And the statistics show now more than ever that those resources are very important. So be thinking about, do you need to clean up, brush up, freshen up your pre-listing packet, your listing presentation, the market data that you share with your buyers and sellers when you're meeting with them? You want to think about right now, the more you can empower your clients' mindsets, the more empowered you're going to be and the better results you're going to have. The other thing I wanted to say about this, talking about what is talking about around marketing materials. So question 13, which kind of marketing materials do you find interesting or useful? 39% said those that list recent home sales prices. That is the number one thing that they want to know, recent home sale prices. And do you have a good sense of how your current home is worth? 54% said pretty good idea. And we already heard that a lot of that's from Zillow and other things. And so if you're not, I wanted to just say this because I think this is such a powerful tool. If you're not using Command's monthly neighborhood nurture feature for all of your clients in your database, it's honestly, everybody just make a promise to yourself that you're going to start, or hire someone to get all your people on it, because it's probably the one thing that I would say everybody should be using for this exact reason in these two questions. The power of the neighborhood nurture that Command has. First of all, if you're not sure how it works, you put people on the monthly neighborhood nurture, and then it emails them an email from you to them every single time a home comes on their market or is sold in the neighborhood of interest. And the power of this is it gets them off other search sites, like Zillow or other places like that, and gives them the exact same information, but it's directly connected to you instead of on that search site. You want to think about, how do I keep my people with me as much as possible? Because they're going to go other places, but if they're on that monthly neighborhood nurture, they're more likely to click on that and be connected with you, rather than if they go on a search site, they're going to click on something and instantly get connected with 8 agents in 3 seconds. And that is not good for you, right? So that is the power of the neighborhood nurture. Okay. Question 15, how did you form your opinion of your home's value? I kind of just touched on this. 37% said opinion from an agent, 27% from Zillow, 29%, I know what other homes have sold for in my neighborhood, and 3%, I bought my home and just based my opinion on that. So imagine if you could capture more of that percentage just through your communication and your touches. And I think that would be really powerful. And this was really interesting too. So this other question says they tapped respondents' awareness of issues not directly related to selling their home and included those results here as well. So this question says, do you know how home search website apps like Zillow and Realtor.com make money? 50% said yes, they understand. 31% said maybe, but not positive. And 17% said, no, I don't understand at all. And then it goes on to ask, what do you think the following statement, what does the following statement make you think? Some real estate home search website apps make money by sending you to a real estate agent when you click or tap contact agent or schedule a tour on a home for sale. If you actually buy a home with this agent, the website app company will take 35% of the commission the agent receives from working with you. This could be as much as $5,000 on the purchase of a $500,000 home. The website apps do not disclose this payment, which comes out of the money you use to buy the house. 37% said I have no problem with it at all, but it bothers me that they do not disclose this. And then there's another 30% that say they're not comfortable or it's unfair. So really interesting just for awareness, right? And then it goes on, how much training would you guess? It's just fun fact, interesting. You guys might get a kick out of this. How much training would you guess is required to get a license to help people buy and sell a home, AKA become a realtor? 40% that said they think it takes 2 to 3 years of education. So that's interesting to know. But yeah, we all know, 75 hours in South Carolina and 90 hours in North Carolina, and bada bing, bada boom. However, that's something to really think about, that you can, again, for marketing, for messaging, as you're promoting yourself to, the world, talking about, what expertise and support you bring to your client and to the real estate industry makes all the difference in the world. Okay. Let's see. This is the last slide, and then we have just one more thing to touch on. But this says they surveyed the willingness to consider power buying. So basically, power buying means like iBuyers or like buy before you sell, like cash buyer situations, etc. So it says, have you heard that of companies that offer buy before you sell services in which the company fronts the cash for a buyer to purchase a home, then offers them a mortgage after the buyer has sold their home. So I said iBuyer, that wasn't the right term. This would be like a cash offer program, like Ribbon that used to be around and other things such like that. 57% said, yes, they're interested in this. Is this kind of service something you would consider to smooth your home a selling and buying process, like give you a smoother process? And 48% said maybe, 25% said definitely. So this is just important to know. I wanted to just include the slide because this does give you perspective on just like where people's mindsets are, that they really are looking for ease and quality, right? So when you're approaching your clients, what quality and value are you adding to them by working with them? And then how are you making their life easier? There are still programs like this. You can keep those in your back pocket and be aware of them, so that you can offer those to your clients. And also, I mean, there are some agents out there that maybe this is you, or maybe you want this to be you in the future, that you can be the investor, right? So those are just good things to think about. But again, I love to share this with you because I feel like the more research and data we have, the better it gives us for perspective. This is going to empower us all. I hope you feel empowered that you can use this to share and empower your consumers and clients. And again, I love to, it gives you a behind the scenes view of what are people thinking right now and how do you find them motivated and what are they really wanting? And I think that was really interesting. Probably one of my biggest takeaways with the marketing, and finding out that a lot of the top teams at Keller Williams and Gary Keller's top 100 and stuff like, and the such, are going really hot and heavy into direct mail marketing over a lot of other methods. So, okay, ahas, questions before we touch on the very last thing I'm going to talk about today. Let's see. Curious if we see a similar chart. Oh, we talked about that. Oh, marry the home, date the rate. Yep, Ani, absolutely. Me too. Any other questions, comments, ahas from that survey? Who was the source of the survey? It's called 1000 Watt. They're a survey, like a research company. So that's where that came from. Great question. Anybody else? Awesome. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to share here is this handy dandy little handout, which again, I will share the actual one when I send out the playback. But Seasons of the Data Bank, I thought this was just really a great time to look at this and be thinking about this. This is what the true seasonality of the real estate industry looks like. And in the last 3 years, we have not had any seasonality, right? It's just been mayhem and crazy and out of whack and unpredictable all the time. And if you've been in the business for 3 years, it's like, really, that's all we've known. And that, what all signs are pointing to, we're going into more regular seasonality of how the industry and market typically flows. And so as you notice that, obviously this will be different in different pockets of the country. But a really great way to think about this is as you begin to feel, I don't know that I would say it's happening immediately right now in the Charlotte area, but let's say in the next month, the fall cleanup is coming. So in the next month, as soon as you feel things start to slow in your business, this is a great time to be starting this cycle. So it basically means in the fall, that's when you really make sure your database is like rock solid. Decide on what information you want to have, must-haves, like going through every person in your database, making sure you have their phone, their email, their addresses, adding on those nice-to-haves, birthday, home anniversary, family occupation, etc. Figure out what the holes are in the information in your data bank so that you can figure out what you need to fill. Do you have their address but not their birthday? And then create a list of everyone that should be in your database that is not. So as things slow down, this is not saying stop working and work on your database. I'm not saying that. Every day that you go to work all year round, you should be showing up to lead generate and build your pipeline and follow up with clients, right? However, you are going to have times in each year when seasonality is happening where it's busier or slower. And when you have those slower times, it's a great opportunity to continue your daily lead gen and working with your clients and take time to get this all cleaned up and tight so that you're running more efficiently every single year. November through February is typically the wintertime months where things really kind of hunker down. It's a really great time for you to renew all your relationships that you may not have been as purposeful about when you have been super busy the rest of the year. Because again, that's a great lead gen tool and nurturing tool. So think about holiday parties, all the fun things that go on in those fall, winter months, November through February. Those are great touch points for your sphere and your database that are supernatural, right? New Year's is the one time in the year that we can use a talking point to get into a conversation with like literally everyone, right? Reach out, Happy New Year, how have you been? Bam, you have a conversation with your database and you're keeping them in your world, even when they're maybe not gonna be ready to sell for 6 months, right? And then obviously the spring summer explosion is where everything takes off again each year. So again, if you're newer to the industry, remember that this absolutely is not saying, oh, nothing's going to happen until the spring summer. Business is going to continue to happen and crank along all year round. But this process right here is how you can make sure that you're being very intentional so that your business is more systematized and runs easier and smoother year over year. And you can continue to just build your business with ease and not be constantly frantically trying to build your business. That's what the goal of this is. And so then obviously, as you can see, when the spring summer explosion hits, that's when you just roll with all the seeds that you planted all the rest of the year. So that is a really great thing to be mindful of right now and just continue to grow. Okay, so that is our whole thing today. I ended 10 minutes early. Wow, I flew through that. I thought it was going to take too long because there's so much information. But I hope that's helpful to you guys. I would love to hear any takeaways, ahas, questions. What was helpful to you? What are you excited about? You can unmute yourself or you can just put it in the chat. But would love to hear from you guys to wrap this up. And thank you guys so much for being on. I'm so excited about, I hope this helps you feel optimistic. And I know for me, the more I feel prepared to actually understand what's happening in the market and not feel like I'm just on a ride, it just I know for me, it makes me feel so much more equipped to handle my business with intention and take market share, right? So anybody, questions, comments, ahas, takeaways, you can put it in the chat. You can unmute yourself. This was awesome, Rhonda. Oh, Rhonda, thanks. I'm so glad it was helpful to you. And I'm just so excited to share the information and be a conduit. So anybody else? Questions, comments? Yay, Emily, I'm so glad it was helpful to you. Awesome. Aha. Homeowners responding positively to mailing marketing. Yes, I thought that was super interesting too. So informational. You're welcome, Kathy. I'm so glad to hear that. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you. I'm so glad you guys feel like it's helpful. Let me know if there's anything that you want resources of that I don't think of. Oh, Julie, you're so welcome. I'm so excited to just be running with you guys and, take market share together. It's market of the moment. You can use this as a tool to empower yourself, empower your clients, and let's make it the most powerful second half of 2023 yet. I didn't put this slide in here because, I don't want to be too advantageous, but I'm excited about some things that we can talk about in the next couple months as more stats and numbers come out. But I feel like there's a lot of very optimistic predictions coming for the next couple years as well. So just be encouraged. You're in the right industry at the right time. The way that you rise above and continue to grow is with intention, growing your database, following up every day, being consistent. And you guys are doing that and showing up, and you're empowering yourself. So have an awesome one. I'll see you later. And thanks for your time.